Yeah.
So my thought is that at some point after high school, and it could be, before you graduate or just after you graduate, you could pay back your community or your state or your country by some form of service. The natural for me is military, but it could be Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, and I think there's a teachers AmeriCorps is sort of like that, but there's a teachers payback system. But just 1 year, and if you like it, you keep doing it. If you don't like it, you get out. You paid your time back. But the part I didn't go over, Charles, that I thought would be, if the person likes it, now they have a job that they possibly will seek.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
They have,
Exactly.
you have some skin in the game, so to speak, and you have a natural referral from whoever is their supervisor. And if you need, if you, obviously, if this is high school, you have your GED, but if you need a teacher certificate, maybe it helps you get that far as well.
Well, no, that's exactly it. When you go, because once you go from the classroom to the practical application of what it is you're doing, that's where the real learning begins. Because then you're there, and you have to utilize everything that's come to you. But then it's also like on the job training, as we'd say. And I think that definitely would be valuable to everybody, and some people in that regard of being able to pay back the community. Maybe they can't do it within the military because that just sort of is not in their structure, but if they can do it within the community and helping someone out, that we would gain as a society hugely.
So I don't know if you've been reading about what the tent cities that have been going on, both
Yeah,
in
down in cities.
St. Paul and in Minneapolis. So a lot of those folks are homeless, or they wouldn't be living there. It doesn't mean they're jobless. They may have jobs, but I think they're one and the same. So how do you leverage what people are trying to do philanthropically with what's going on now? Is industry gets in there and provides not only a place to stay, but now some sort of job training, because you have a focus group that you could work on. You have these folks who live in there. Now, a lot of times there's some mental illness issues, and that's where the medical community can get involved. And believe it or not, you're probably going to find a veteran or two in there as well. And they already have benefits. They're just not recognizing that. So they could easily obtain help, not only from a health standpoint, but also from a jobs and way of life. It was interesting, I was talking to the mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter, and I don't know if you realize he was the one who gave the word to shut down the camp in St. Paul.
Yeah, no, I heard that on the news. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But he was basically weighing what it would look like to have to explain to someone a death due to cold or some injury or fire, because these guys are lighting whatever in their tents and stuff, versus, shutting the camp down. Now, he did come up with an alternative site. Some people showed up, some people didn't, because again, there's mental illness, and instead of staying warm, they'd rather just be on their own. It's funny, at my clinic at Health Partners, it looks out over, June, where is that? What's the street that's that on? But there's a railroad track that runs through there. And amazingly, a lot of the folks, homeless folks, live right there on those tracks.
Oh yeah.
And there's a little hillside that gave you cover during the summer months, but now it's exposed in wind and stuff. So they get down there into the little transient areas that are, you have the little walls and stuff, and there's some tunnels and stuff. But they're down there doing, making their homes there. And you see them, I look out my window from the clinic and I see them walking back and forth, and some guys have trash bags full of stuff, some folks have shopping carts, It's amazing, the whole little community that's there.
Oh, it's the same thing down in Charlotte when I was working at the McCall Center as an artist and resident or visiting artist. It was right on North Tryon Street, and the shelter, an area where they would have like food services and all that, was only a few blocks away in one of the old train depots. Well, right where my condo was, I was right behind the building, and it was actually an old Presbyterian church that was destroyed by a fire. in the fall of 1987 by homeless people who were camping out in the church itself, and they started a fire in the building itself. Well, the building caught on fire, so it, you know, burnt out the whole building except for the superstructure. And then in 1996, Bank of America bought the building, and then they turned it into this place. Well, they built the condo right behind, so I just had to walk out the back door and across the street to the condo. Well, there's the ring road that goes around Charlotte called 277. And so the street where I was at, there was an overpass right there. And every night I'd be, you know, sitting out on my balcony, and I'd see these people as they'd walk up the cement ramp and go in that area right where the archway is, you know, going over the street. And right underneath in that little high-end area is where they would be sleeping every night. And they would, I just watch them go up there every night, and like, God,
Yep.
what, and it's just amazing and what it is that why people become homeless.
Yep. Well, obviously, you know, there's, again, the mental health issue, but I know a lot of them have tried, and you get frustrated, and people have different tolerances. And it says easier to be out here on the street than have somebody tell me what to do and that sort of thing. So I wonder what kind of efforts besides community that happen within families and everything. So families are important, and if you lose your family or you don't have connections to them anymore, the friends and everyone else that naturally help you, then you got to work on the community. Now, of all things, I think Augsburg College had a student group who raised money and collected clothing and everything. They were just down there at the Minneapolis site distributing that stuff.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was phenomenal. You saw these kids with these bright smiles on their face that they were doing something for somebody. Now, you know, Augsburg's no cheap school.
No.
So obviously they have their wherewithal, but here are these kids, they're getting more satisfaction out of bringing stuff down to the homeless and making a difference than probably getting an A or B on their test. Not that that's anything to sneeze at, but I think they found something else to be passionate about.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and that's what's needed is, you know, like these younger kids to sort of see, you know, part of society's problem. You know, why are these people homeless? I mean, there's no reason in the world that there should be a homeless issue. And
Wait.
Well,
No, do it. Keep doing
okay.
it, but don't stop.
oh, okay.
Now be quiet. another sound check,
Okay.
and just, say anything.
Okay. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Sound check. Sound check.
Keep checking.
Testing. 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 Sound check. Sound check. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Testing.
Okay, we got it. Okay. What you do is you kind of look at me. You don't have to be posed.
Oh, really? I can look at you and.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
use your hands if you'd
Okay,
like, because a lot
okay.
of times when people talk, they
Okay.
use their hands
Yeah.
to tell the story.
Okay.
And what we'll do is probably get a little more time of you just posing without. Why don't you go back to your pose and we'll get about 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
All right. Well, not a good questioner, but
Okay.
I really want you to basically say who you are and the affiliation you have with the military, and then why you are here. Why are you here? I want to know your why you're here. And then from there we'll go to some whats and hows about the project. So,
Okay.
let me get my headphones on. I'm golden. Talk
Okay.
to me.
So I'm David Hamler, and I am affiliated with the military in that I'm a now retired general officer. So I spent time in the Ohio National Guard and later the Minnesota National Guard, and this is where I've retired from. So essentially, I'm here today because of my military but also medical background. General Bess, who has also posed for this, had come to me and asked me if I would mind sitting for Charles in the scenario that he's asked for. So the scenario is you have a pararescue person who's leaning over one of our wounded soldiers who has either placed an IV, started an IV, but is administering an IV to that soldier. And in that sense, I've actually done that. So I've walked the walk and talked the talk, so to speak. But she came to me specifically because in the mural that's being painted, there was a lack thereof of underrepresented minorities. So as an African American, Sandy Bess, General Bess, asked me specifically to be involved in the project. So we came up and met Charles at the salon gathering that night, and I guess I passed the test, so I'm here.
All right. Charles, what would you like? Has a question I'll defer to. Do you have anything that you would like him to say about the project?
Well, I would think, certainly, as you commented earlier, you've been involved in pararescue, and that's important that we have someone who's actually done what they're depicting in the painting. We have a lot of different people doing different things in the painting, and maybe some haven't necessarily done that, but in this case, it's a very unique that General Hamler has been deployed 6 times. You could ask him about that, but also what does the project mean in terms of to veterans, their families, We were at the committal hall when they came up here the first time, so that was like, 3 weeks ago or so. So we had a chance to spend some serious time out there and see the end result, where these pieces are gonna go, and the impact it has.
Yeah.
What I like about what you did, General Hamler, is the fact that you said who you were, and you did a very nice, succinct why. Now we're at the point of why. Now from why, how do we move the project, the values, and the giving back to our community today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
Yeah. So obviously being involved in a project like this has meaning to it. One is it represents the Air Force. And that's where General Best came to me and asked me and I've been part of the Air Force now 31, 32 years. So that's meaningful. But it's also showing a depiction of who is in the Air Force and what the Air Force is. The Air Force is a great organization, and you always hear people talk about being part of something greater than yourself. So in that light, the Air Force has given me that opportunity. But besides the Air Force, when we went to Committal Hall and saw all the paintings that are done thus far, you're part of even a larger project. And what it is, a project to give back to the community. Now it's unfortunate, and I say unfortunate because it's just going to be here in Little Falls. So that means people have to come and see it. And then the fact that it's at the Committal Hall in the cemetery, it really, it has meaning, but it's not going to have the breadth of what I think the project like this should have. In other words, this is something that is a national treasure, not just Little Falls. And I think that's something that I think time will bear out. Charles told me these paintings will last forever, especially if cared for and everything else. So this may not be the final resting place for these paintings. Who knows? They can be depicted because of social media and what we have today in terms of broadcasting. We can actually show this to folks around the world, especially the troops. I think it's going to have special meaning for people who come to Little Falls and are at Committal Hall or paying their final respects. But I think this is well beyond just Little Falls. It's not Little Falls has a history of having people extend beyond its borders, and that's Charles Lindbergh and whoever else has left here. But I think it's going to have meaning elsewhere as well.
It's a destination. This is a huge destination that's just going to start to take off. And it's been mined over time, which most gems take time to get there. But having people like you that can see the value of what this project means is what we're able to capture here to pass it forward for posterity.
Yeah.
Maybe not as long as the paintings, but I like it. And it's also validation for Charles, me, you, your wife, and our community at large. So, anything else you'd like to add about?
Well, I could mention, you asked me about meaningful
Exactly.
Times.
Yes. There you go.
So, as Charles said, I've deployed 6 times. 3 times were to a combination of Iraq, Kuwait, and Ali Asalim, which is in Kuwait, but also in terms of Afghanistan, 3 times there. And each time I've gone in some form of medical capacity. At times I've gone as a commander of a unit, but most times I have to utilize my medical skills. One of the first times I did that, we had deployed, this is in 2002, 2003 timeframe, and I saw what immediate care I could render as a physician, as a caregiver, when somebody went down on the line. This was a non-combat injury, but I was able to give aid, start an IV, stop bleeding, and take care of those things, which meant a lot to that soldier, of course, but also meant a lot to his family, because what could have been a more horrendous situation was controlled just by my being there. So I saw value in the fact that I'm there, and there as a physician, not just as a commander. Another time, we were in a place called Jacobabad, which was an extension of our Iraq deployment, but it was actually in Pakistan. And literally, we had a troop go down who we had to transfer to a higher echelon of care. Now, the way that's best explained is there's only so much you can do with 2 or 3 people. So a higher echelon of care is either a aid station or now a hospital or a combat service hospital. What we were able to do is go up the chain, and we ended up in Bagram, because Bagram had more resources than we had in Pakistan. And there we were taking care of a troop who had maybe, again, non-combat wound, but life goes on. She had what we thought was appendicitis. And after we made all the designation, there was something else going on with her, and some decisions had to be made. And I was able to take care of that troop right then and there with, I think, sound decisions with other caregivers, and we're able to move her up again, another echelon of care. But this was all something we generated on our own because, you know, we're thinking human beings. We want to save lives. We want to take care of people. And the final one I'll leave you with was a combat situation. We're in Iraq, and literally the Fallujah campaign was going on. So we're receiving wounded all the time to one of our facilities. And the facility we had a general surgeon, we had an orthopedic surgeon, we had myself, who was considered a general surgeon at the point, but I'm also expert in the head and neck area. That's my expertise, ENT, otolaryngology. And literally, this person had lost a lot of blood, and the general surgeon was able to put together the veins and the arteries that lead from the upper leg down into the lower leg. Now, we don't have a lot of personnel on this base. We have maybe 2 nurses who have intensive care unit training. They were both being utilized because of the casualties we received. Somebody had to go with this troop, maintain life support with the nurse who was in there to the next level of care. So we're leaving our place, which is Al-Assad, and going over to Balad, which is Camp Anacondas, maybe people on the Army side. Anyway, long story short, during the flight, which is 30 minutes, we managed to transfuse 5 units of blood and over 300 to 500 cc's of crystalloid, which is saline, to keep the soldier alive. So we were able to do that in transit because of what we had capabilities to do. So those are the most meaningful that I remember. We used to do point of injury pickups, meaning where the war's being waged, go and pick troops up. But it didn't make sense to send a surgeon to those sites. But sometimes you had to. So those are very meaningful as well. So if you look at something that you say is really meaningful in your life, I'm hard pressed to find something that is more than those episodes, those specific episodes I just cited to you, besides the routine care that we do. Okay.
I love it. I love it. You know, it's so succinct and so well articulated. It's just great. Any last thing you would like to add, Charles?
Well, I mean, for me, again, too, having General Hamler here is a great experience because just being able to talk back and forth about his experiences, which assist me in putting what I need to into the paintings, because it's the stories. I mean, these paintings are about the men and women of the military who have served, are serving, and will be serving, and so the more I can be involved with individuals who've actually had these real life experiences and death experiences, it assists my mindset as I'm producing these pieces and putting them onto the canvas to tell the story and to be there as a piece of comfort for the individuals that spend their last moments with their loved one in the committal hall. And then for those that just go visit and want to sort of know something or learn something.
I have one question here. Can you come up with some kind of a statement or a paragraph that is kind of a testimonial based on the project that we're working on? This may or may not be, used, but I feel like something that is a testimony to the project at large, which I think you've already articulated it, but sometimes when it's reworded, could be used differently too.
Well, the hardest part for me, so I'm a lifesaver, I'm a caretaker. I want to take and make my patients whole again. Unfortunately, we're sometimes not able to do that. And when we rush, I'm a surgeon, when we rush from the battlefield to the table, at least that first echelon of care, I think the statistics will bear out that we're probably 98% successful. That means 2% we are not successful, either due to harrowing experiences with blood loss, cardiac events, something we cannot save those. So what this project does, it helps me feel better about those who were not able to save, who are now gone into that next stage of life or passed on. And it helps me to know that someone's thinking about them, that someone is taking the time to paint about their experiences, that someone is willing to sit down and talk about their experiences. And hopefully that gives the family a bit more comfort in knowing that we don't just take care of the ones who are alive, we take care of those and the families who follow.
Beautiful. One thing I would like just to end with, maybe not even end with, but I would like you to do a shout out thank you to Charles and the project and the differences that you know will make today, tomorrow, whatever, something like that.
Okay.
I just want kind of a shout out.
Okay. So with that, I want to thank all those involved in the project. I happened to meet a lot of them at the salon when we had the open house, the folks who got me involved because I didn't know about the project, and finally to the person who is actually instrumental to all of this, Charles Kapsner, who is doing a fabulous job with this and has told me a lot of the backstories, the amount of research he's done to capture the meaning of the event. So it's not just about putting paint on paper or on an easel. It's about capturing the stories and making sure that those who follow and those who will see this thereafter can cherish the work that he's demonstrated and also the lives of those he's captured to put on canvas.
I'm good. Yeah, come here. Come here, please. Yeah.
June.
June. July, August.
Well, we wish it was now, but we're
I know.
getting close to winter, yes.
Okay. Now you've been listening to the whole story here. There must be a nugget that he might not have been able to say that he can say succinctly about a question that you know that he should answer. And if there is none, I'm good with
Well,
it.
well, there's the fact that I'll conclude it. I know what she's going to say. I can read her mind. And I always pay homage to her all the time. So we as warriors are out on the front line. And what we never do, we never forget those back home. And that is so much meaningful. For when I deploy, I always tell her, I know where I am, I'm safe. But when she's back or any of our spouses and significant others are back, then they don't know. They don't know we're in harm's way or if we're not in harm's way. And they're resting there, at wit's end trying to figure out what their loved ones are doing. So, did I capture that? So I think a lot of the respect and the gratitude is not just from us as the war fighter, but those who are back home supporting us. And it's support that sometimes isn't repaid. Sometimes we don't say that we love them. Sometimes we don't pay the homage or the respect that we should. And sometimes it's because we don't, and sometimes because we've lost our way. So we need to make ourselves whole again. That's why we have these continued battles with PTSD and other things and traumatic brain injury, that the person isn't whole when they come in, and this is part of the support system that we rely on, not only in leaving and going on, but when we come back.
Give her a thank you.
Thank you, June. I love you, June.